We have fire. I think it's burning down pretty good now. Hello, welcome back to another episode from Pale Horse Survival and Tactical. I'm Bill. Today I'm going to show you how to harvest pine nuts. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. I gathered up some pine cones out here from 3 different species of pine, and the main thing to remember when you are harvesting pine nuts, there's really 3 species of pine that will produce nuts large enough to warrant the output of calories and the effort into harvesting them. And one is the ghost pine, and these are cones from the ghost pine. They're really heavy, large cones. The Native American people here in California use the nuts as a viable food source. And the next one would be the sugar pine. And the sugar pine has the largest pine cones out of all the pines. They get up to 20 inches in length. These are nowhere near full size. These are just some that I policed up. But if you get the full size sugar pines that produce, a mature tree that produces the full size cones, I mean they'll be, huge. I've seen them up to about this big, and they produce a pretty good sized nut. And the only other pine that I know of is the pinyon pine, and that is on the eastern side of the Sierras, and that produces a good sized nut also, about thumbnail size. And those were also used by the native people as a food source. But there's a lot of there's ponderosa pine and other species of pine. The problem with that is the nuts are so small that the output of calories that you're going to put into it, into harvesting, versus what you'll get back is not very, it's not really worth it. For example, these are pine cones from the ponderosa pine here, and they're all over up here, and you can see the winged seeds on the inside here, and it's best to try and get them right after they come off the pine, or if you're able to get them out of the tree before they drop, you can roast the pine cones, warm them by the side of the fire until the scales open, and extract the seeds that way. But they give you an example here. I get one of these out of here, how small these seeds are, and you can usually tap them on a solid surface to get them out also. There was one that came out, there's no nut in there, that's just the winged papery sheath. And here's one with the nut intact. You can see how small that is. That's the nut right on the end. This papery sheath, the winged sheath, that's designed when the seed comes out of the pine cone up in the tree. The wind will take it and it'll helicopter off in the wind, and that's how the tree spreads its seed. The papery sheath, in botanical terms, is known as a samara, S-A-M-A-R-A, and basically what that means is it's a seed encased in a papery sheath. That's all that means. But you can see how small those are. I mean, if you were desperate for food in a primitive situation, you had no other way to procure food, and you had a lot of pine cones laying around, you could tap them and pull those out and, at least have something to nibble on. But in a long-term situation, you would be better off going for the larger nuts. I'm going to go ahead and pause this and see if I can find a few nuts. These cones are already on the ground, and they've released most of their seed, but I think I might be able to get one or two out of the sugar pine there, and I know there's some here in the ghost pine. So I'll give you an example here of the sugar pine next. Stay tuned. Okay, I wanted to get back here. This is the sugar pine cone, the big one, and I wanted to get back here behind the camera and show you guys what I'm seeing here. You can look down between the scales here, and you can see the wing in there. Whoop, there we go. Didn't expect it to crack so easy. There's a nut. And again, they're not real big, but they're bigger than the little ones we were just looking at in the ponderosa pines. And there's more down in here, there's more up in, there's one there, and over here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these out of here, and I will be back. Stay tuned. Okay, yeah, I just started tapping this thing, and the seeds are just raining out of here. And see, there goes some more. Most of the cones on the ground, they're seedless. They've already released their seed. This one was a rare exception, and I'm glad it was here. It's good to use it as an example. If you had a pile of these, if we got to them earlier in the season, about a month ago, we have a lot more seed. This will work for demonstration purposes. There's actually quite a few in here. I'm sure if I looked around, I could find some more like this. Yeah, that's probably a good part of them that are in there. I'm not really... There's a little bit more in here. You can see the... You can see the tails of the Samara sticking out. Oh, yeah, well, this is a good cone here. A lot of them in here. You just give it the a good going over and grab everything. That should be pretty much a good portion of it. There's a little bit more in here. So anyways, that's the sugar pine, and this is a great representation of the seed. I'll give you guys a close-up of these here. These are pretty good size. They're pretty close to the size of my pinky nail. So these definitely are worth foraging for. The calories versus return on these. And just take those and pull the papery sheath off. Whoops, sorry about that. Just rub them between your fingers. That one was rotted. But those are the sugar pine nuts. And now we'll take a look at the ghost pine, which is just a little bit bigger. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back. I went through here, and these are the nuts that I got from the sugar pine. And I went through the ghost pine here. Now, these are older cones. So, when you're harvesting, ideally if you can get a long pole or even climb the tree and knock down the fresh cones, that would be the way to go. If you're going to climb, be very careful. The wood, you wouldn't want to have a limb break off and fall down. If you can get a pole and hit the lower cones on the tree, ones you can't reach with your hands, but you know, if you can get a pole 12-15 feet long and you can poke them out of there, you'll have a better chance. This, you can see the fresh cone that I picked up here compared to a cone that's old. You can see the difference here. Now the seeds that I got out of the old cone, that's what they look like. They could very possibly even be from last year. And if they're black like that, it's probably really not gonna be a very good choice for food. Now these are the ones that I got out of the fresh cone. You can see a big difference here between the two. That's the one I'd rather eat than this one. So another thing you need to realize, these have a hard shell. You don't want to just pull them out of the pine cone, pop it in your mouth and try and eat it. You'll break a tooth. They have to be shelled first. We'll try one of these old ones here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a stone to crack the shell. The shells are really hard. They're thick. Actually, the nut doesn't look bad. Nah, I wouldn't eat it. Looks like it's got a little bit of fuzz on it. Get the camera to focus here. You can see the white fuzz, and the shells are really thick. So really, for as far as a food source goes, go fresh. You can also, as I mentioned, you can get these just before they open on the tree. If you can knock them down, they'll be full of seeds, and you can place these next to your campfire where the warmth will dry them out and the scales will open, and you'll be able to get a hold of the seeds that way. And you can eat these either roasted or all pine nuts. You can eat them either roasted or raw. They don't have to be cooked. So we'll give this one a try here. Man, that shell is really, really and it is labor intensive. It's a whole lot different when you're having to harvest and process your own food in a primitive manner as opposed to buying something out of the grocery store. Yeah, but I thought I heard a crack here. Nope. Boy, this thing is really, yeah, the shell finally cracked. Yeah, most people are separated from the labor aspect of harvesting and preparing. So here's what we have. You can see how thick that shell is. I mean, they're really thick. So we have a seed here. And that is your pine nut. And it's almost the size of my my pinky nail. These are definitely worth the effort. If you're in a long-term situation or primitive situation and you need food, that would be one of the viable food sources. The native people lived on those along with other wild edibles. I hope you guys enjoyed the video as much as I did making it today. Please like, subscribe, and share. And I hope all of you are having an outstanding day or night, depending on where you're located. I will see all of you very soon on the next one. Everybody take care. Bye-bye. Hey, there's just one more thing I wanted to add. I neglected to say this earlier. The nuts also make great squirrel bait. Or if you're using bird snares, things of that nature, really good bait for that. So it's not just for human consumption. So if you harvest up a handful of it or a couple handfuls, you have yourself a readily available bait out there in the woods. So if you're doing any snaring or trapping, just wanted to throw that in. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.